The morning sun spilled across the dorm hallway, painting soft gold across Freen's face as she leaned against the wall, waiting. Her heart thudded quietly, a steady but nervous rhythm. Becky was late again, but somehow, Freen didn't mind. Waiting for her had become its own kind of peace. It's funny, looking at our channel stats, I see that 98% of you watching aren't subscribed. That's a huge number. If you're enjoying this story, taking a second to hit that subscribe button means the world to us. It helps us keep making more content for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for your support. When Becky finally appeared, her hair still damp from the shower, she looked like sunlight after rain, fresh, glowing, and breathtakingly unaware of it. She waved, smiling that soft, lopsided smile that always made Freen's chest ache in the best way. Sorry, Becky laughed, catching her breath. I overslept again. You should have gone without me. Not a chance, Freen replied, her voice soft but firm. You know I'd wait a lifetime if I had to. Becky rolled her eyes, but a faint blush betrayed her. The teasing tone couldn't hide the warmth that crept into her heart. As they walked to class side by side, their hands brushed once, then again. Neither of them pulled away this time. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was full of unsaid things, a quiet understanding that was growing stronger each day. Later that afternoon, the sky turned a moody gray. Rain began to fall just as they left their last class. Laughing, they rushed into the old campus library, shaking water from their jackets. The air inside smelled like wet books and quiet memories, a comforting scent that wrapped around them. Looks like we're trapped here, Becky said, staring out at the downpour through a tall, arched window. Good, Freen said softly, her eyes fixed on Becky's reflection in the glass. I don't mind being trapped with you. Becky turned, caught off guard by the sincerity in Freen's voice. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of rain on the roof became the only thing between them, steady, rhythmic, alive. It was as if the storm outside was giving them permission to stay in this bubble, just the two of them. They found a quiet corner between towering bookshelves, a hidden nook that felt like their own private world. Freen sat across from Becky, watching as she tried to study, but her eyes kept wandering. Every time Becky tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, Freen's heart did a little flip. Every little thing she did, her focused frown, her occasional smile at something she read, even the way she sighed felt like a secret song Freen never wanted to stop hearing. It was mesmerizing. Why do you keep staring at me? Becky finally asked, looking up from her book and raising an eyebrow. Her tone was playful, but her eyes were searching. Because you're beautiful, Freen said simply, without a trace of hesitation. The words were honest, raw, and they hung in the quiet air between them like a spark, fragile but impossible to ignore. Becky's eyes widened, her breath hitched. You can't just say things like that, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the patter of the rain. Why not? Freen asked, leaning forward slightly. Because it makes it hard to breathe. Freen smiled, a small, knowing smile that made Becky's heart flutter uncontrollably. The rain kept falling, and the light filtering through the window softened, casting them in a warm, gentle glow. Freen reached out, her fingers tentatively brushing over the back of Becky's hand where it rested on the table. Becky froze, not out of fear, but from the sudden, overwhelming rush of emotion she couldn't quite name. Her heart raced, pounding in her chest. Freen's touch was warm, gentle, real. It grounded her and sent her soaring all at once. Becky, Freen said quietly, her own voice trembling just a little, betraying her calm exterior. Do you ever feel like the whole world just disappears when we're together? Becky's eyes met hers, and in their depths, Freen saw her own feelings reflected back. Every time, she whispered, the confession escaping her lips before she could stop it. And just like that, the space between them, the hesitation, the unspoken questions, it all vanished. Freen leaned forward, her breath mingling with Becky's. Time seemed to slow to a crawl. The rain outside hushed its rhythm. Becky's eyes fluttered closed, and their lips met, soft, hesitant, and full of all the feelings they'd been too scared to speak aloud. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a confession. It was every unspoken word, every hidden glance, every quiet heartbeat that had whispered you are mine, finally finding its voice in that one perfect moment. It was a promise of something new, something real. When they pulled apart, breathless and dazed, Becky laughed quietly, her forehead resting against Freen's. We just broke a few unspoken rules, didn't we? She murmured, a happy, shimmering light in her eyes. Probably, Freen smiled, her thumb gently stroking Becky's cheek. But it was worth it. Becky nodded, her own smile wide and bright. Yeah, it was. As the rain began to fade, the sky outside turned into a beautiful painting of soft pink and silver. They sat there for a while longer, fingers entwined, sharing quiet smiles and soft laughter, content in their newly discovered truth. Promise me something, Becky said, her voice serious for a moment. What? Freen asked, her full attention on Becky. No matter what happens next, don't let this become just a memory. Freen squeezed her hand, her gaze unwavering. I won't. You're not just a moment, Becky. You're the story. Outside, the clouds broke apart. An ray of sunlight streamed through the window, touching their faces. It felt like a sign that even after the storm, love could and would shine through. And as they finally stood to leave, hand in hand, Becky looked at Freen one more time, her eyes glowing with something new, something fearless. Because love, when it's real, doesn't need to hide in the shadows. It deserves to be in the light. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of You Are Love, Mine. If you felt that connection between Freen and Becky, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss what happens next. We love sharing these stories with you. See you in the next one.